Let me address this. Well, I am also an immigrant, and so therefore I share the pains, the coming in Canada, adapting to a new country. I share all those trials and tribulations with Chinese Canadians who've been in this country for at least, the last 40 years. And also you need to know that Chinese immigrants have been in Canada since the 1860s. That's over 160 years of history. And we should be fully participating members of this society. Your question refers to what their difficulties are, and one of the difficulties that I have experienced certainly is their foreign credential recognition. The next difficulty is their ability to engage in the mainstream society because of certain language difficulties. And then perhaps a third one is that culturally we have our own cultural differences that are not totally mainstream. I mean, one of the opposites is that, we write from right to left traditionally and up and down, and, the Western culture goes left to right, and across. So there are fundamental differences. And of course, I certainly think that by now we have internationalized our cuisine to the point that we all enjoy each other. But the Conservative government will have a China strategy.
Everybody other than the Aboriginal communities in this country, we are all immigrants. We are all either first generation or multiple generations back. In my case, many generations back. But we are all, the entire country has been built by immigrants. And I think it's one of the things that makes Canada completely unique in the world. And although we have had challenges, we've had obviously waves of sometimes prejudice, sometimes bias. Over the years, Canada has become the most successful, pluralistic country, a community in the world. And I, as a Canadian, I think as both Canadians, we're extremely proud of that. It's how we manage to continue to take advantage of that. In my office, as a member of Parliament, immigration is by far the biggest challenge, by far. We have huge waiting lists. We have many people who are denied opportunities because of fraud. We need to address fraud. We need to address the people who are trying to get into the country improperly. And that don't mean refugee is another issue entirely. But in doing that, we have to make sure that those who want to come here legitimately are encouraged to come, are able to come much more quickly. In some cases, it's 5, 6, 7 years for people to come. I'm also very proud of the fact that in my office we have what we refer to as our wall of thanks. When you go into the office, on the one wall are all of the cards and letters and pictures of people that we've helped, that our team has helped to get to Canada, to stay in Canada. But it takes too long, it's too cumbersome, it needs much more investment. We need to invest to make sure that the processes have people come quickly and are able to stay, and that they are there legitimately and can contribute as soon as they get here. I'd love to talk more about settlement services and those opportunities too.
Yes. I'm concerned about the backlog for the parents and grandparents application. Now it takes about 5, 6, some people say 11 years.
Sometimes longer, yeah.
And also fewer Chinese immigrants can come as skilled worker because the job originated from a couple hundred job categories, cut it to 38, now to 29. It seems a trend. Fewer skilled worker from Chinese or from China can came as skilled worker. So I just want to know what do both think about this trend.
Tony, I also understand that you're an immigration consultant, so this is probably very dear to your heart. It's a good question. I think the Conservative government needs to look at the total China strategy. We have to, first of all, recognize the fact that China is one of our biggest export markets. We are also recognizing the fact that China will be perhaps one of our greatest source of investment, inbound investment. And then thirdly, China will be one of our largest immigration pool of people. In addressing that, when we inherited government from the Liberals, there was a backlog of over 800,000 cases around the world. It was an unmanageable situation. And of course, I have not been in government. I just understand that this was a situation. I don't know how it got there. But I think with the Conservative government, what we are trying to do is to start focusing and saying, all right, how do we want to build the next generation of Canadians? How do we want to bring in the poor people and perhaps accelerate their application process so that they can come and be a contributing member for the society?
You know, it's interesting. I mean, my frustration is that in the last 5.5 years, the Conservative government has in fact pulled back and has, as you said, restricted the categories, is proposing to restrict family unification. And it ties back to an earlier discussion as only one example of daycare and early learning. We know, particularly in Chinese cultures, older parents stay home and look after the children. We have 3 and sometimes more generations of families that live together specifically so that the parents can do their work, can go to work, and you have grandparents looking after children. It's fantastic. But if you prevent those parents from coming, then they are incapable of helping, and those parents with those small children, because they don't have daycare, are caught in a bind. So this is a perfect example of where we need to encourage. We need to encourage the ability for parents to come in those situations. Canada was built by families. Canada was built not just by having one person come over and stay here for the rest of his or her life, and in most cases it was men. They would come, but you want people to have their families come so that they can in fact build lives, have their own children. I've met so many people at the door who are canvassing and knocking on doors in the last number of 2 weeks. The number of Canadian success stories who are exactly those families who have come, who have then had children, who have gone on to build even more of this country. It is a Canadian success story, and by cutting it back and by making it longer, we are making it more difficult. But the liberal tradition, you know, from Pierre Trudeau and multiculturalism, immigration has been a mainstay of liberal government policies, and we're very proud of that and want to continue to do that.
We need to also look at the corollary of that, Martha, in that if these people come here and we do not have the economic stimulus program in place, we do not create jobs for them, it is equally frustrating for immigrants to come in here and able to find jobs. I think it is absolutely necessary that we continue on our economic recovery program, our economic action plan, the phase 2 of it, by lowering taxes, by stimulating the economy to create those jobs that is needed for the immigrants. It is no good to have immigration when they cannot find a job here.